From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Let's do it. It's showtime. It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30. If you're not a member, do so. Join the family today. 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. We also ask that if you could, subscribe to this podcast. It doesn't cost any money. Even subscribe to our YouTube page. But subscribe, unsubscribe, leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That's the end-all, be-all, it seems like. And then we'll read maybe the latest review on the 5th day of the month. It's what we try to do every month. Every week we try to do viewer questions called the Renegade Express. We'll do that in a little bit. But first, I'm not the only person here. Corey Clark is also here. Rest assured. Corey, how are you, friend?
Man, I am wonderful. That was a great lead-in. Maybe the longest lead-in we've ever had.
Okay.
In Wake Up War Chant history, but a good one. I thought it was professional. Well done. I feel like you're starting to find your stride here after about, how long have we been doing this show? Like 13 months?
Yeah.
When did we start doing this?
Yeah. February 5th, I think, was our first. February 5th, 2018, I think, was the maiden voyage.
Did we do we didn't do like a 1-year anniversary thing, did we?
We did not. We did not.
Well, that's ridiculous. Let's do like a 14-month anniversary. April 5th. That's the Friday before the Final Four starts and the spring game.
All right.
So that would be a good time to do a 14-month celebration.
Who's the best number 14 in Florida State history football?
Right away, my thought goes to Danny McManus, who was the quarterback of the 87 team that started the dynasty. He was actually a really good college quarterback, but he had injury problems until his last year, and then he was really good and led them to 11-1. So I'll say him. I'm sure there's somebody I'm forgetting or 5 people. Well, 14 isn't a real popular football number, is it?
It's not. It's not. You know what I thought of
was
the other
Brad
day?
Johnson 14?
Brad was 14 in the league. I don't know what he was in Tallahassee.
But he wasn't as good as McManus at Florida State. McManus had a better college career than Brad Johnson, who only started like 5 games. So, yeah, I'm going to say, until proven otherwise, and I'm sure somebody can, I'm going to say Danny McManus.
The other day at the gym, I was thinking about we're going to hit a lull here soon where we'll be sort of stretching to talk about things, but I'll surely find controversial, provocative statements to say and then backtrack, or maybe not backtrack. But I wanted to do a show, and this takes the cat out of the bag now. I want to do a show one day where literally I ask you to name at least one player 1 through 99 in Florida State football history. Like name somebody that wore the number 74, and I want you to name a guy. 62.
Right. Gotcha.
And
okay.
I wonder, out of 99, how many you would hit. I would literally set the over-under at 89.5, and I would take the over, brother. That's how much confidence I have in you.
I feel like, honestly, I could get, unless there's a number that just hasn't been, that just nobody wears.
Like 66.
I would say Lewis Tyre would be my first 66.
Psycho.
So 65 might be a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Enzo Armala comes to mind, but I don't know if that's true or not. I might be making both of those up. I'm not sure what their numbers were. But yeah, I think the 60s and 70s would be difficult. But everything from probably 0 to really probably 1 to 59, and then 80 to 99 would be, I would have a bunch of them, I would think. But nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear how awesome I am.
No.
They know that anyway.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get to Renegade Express. We're going to talk about the Gonzaga matchup. I spoke to Ira Schofelt earlier on Wednesday. That was up on our YouTube live stream. I'll probably just kind of go over some of the bullet points that he went over instead of trying to cut out part of his interview and lace it into here. But before, I don't know if I want to go there first. Let's get this out of the way first, Corey. Yesterday on the show, or the day before, when we had Dallin Cuff from ESPN on, I mentioned the fact that Florida State fans have an inferiority complex, or they're paranoid. So somebody took exception with this on the tribal council. His name is Mongoose FSU. He says he's an avid listener of Wake Up War Chant.
Well, there we go.
Pretty
I like him
ambivalent
already.
mostly about what is said on the show, although he's an avid listener. So, I mean, doesn't ambivalent mean like you really don't care?
Yes.
Okay. He understands it's part entertainment, part opinion, part informational. However, I'm starting to get slightly irritated with Aslan constantly bashing of the psyche of FSU fans. This morning, he stated to an ESPN columnist that he believes FSU fans have an inferiority complex. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, I think FSU fans believe our athletic programs and the university itself performs in a superior fashion given the tremendous head start our competing universities have enjoyed in tenure and wealth accumulation. I don't post often, but I just didn't like the blanket negative characterization of my alma mater.
First off, Enzo Armella, he was 75, not 65, but Lewis Tyre is 66.
Yeah.
Chad Bates would be the one I'd go with 65 now that I just saw it. But what I would say to that is I agree with that. I don't think Florida State fans have an inferiority complex. I think they might have, when it comes to ESPN, slight paranoia.
Okay, yeah, I think
you know what I mean? I think that's more fair than an inferiority complex because, we've met plenty of Florida State fans, and if you follow them all on Twitter like we do or see them all post, they don't seem to want to take backseat to anyone. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's like NC State with North Carolina.
No, I did I misspoke.
Yeah.
That's why I think I then said paranoid after. Inferiority complex is defined as lacking self-esteem, doubt, and uncertainty about oneself and feelings of not measuring up to standards. And this university clearly thinks they're better than most everybody. So maybe superiority complex is actually what it really is. I don't want to riff too much on this. It was too long for me to type out a response, and I didn't want to type out a response. You remember the season, the reality documentary they did on Florida State back in 2002?
Sure. I mean, I watched it the one time, but yeah, I remember that they did it.
Yeah, so they did that on Florida State. You know why they did that on Florida State? It's like we were really awesome. I mean, you think about it. You go from 96 to 2000. That's what, 5 years, and we were in a national title game in 4 of them? Like, we were awesome. We still are. I mean,
and if they could have guarded Jacquez Green at all, it would have been 5 years in a row.
Yeah, ESPN did that. The other day, Megan King threw a no-hitter in front of a fan that drew inspiration in their fight against an illness by watching Megan play, and that was her favorite athlete. And Scott Van Pelt devoted a whole sort of segment in his show to putting good praise on Florida State. Lee Corso's on ESPN. He's a stalwart. I mean, lovely. Lee's been struggling with health issues, but they've stuck by his side and kept him on the network. Danny Cannell was there for a long while. Danny lost out in the cuts. And, just being objective, him and Jesse Palmer, one guy's got to go. We got 2 country club-looking white guys that used to play football. We're going to stick with the guy that's a little bit more versatile, Jesse Palmer. I don't think there's anything personal against Danny Cannell and his bloodlines in terms of him being a Florida State fan. My buddy, Dallin Cuff's my friend. I've known him for 20 years. I was in his wedding. It's and I don't agree with him either. I don't think the SEC is better than the ACC. But dang, it bothers you folks. And that's what I don't get. Like, I'm talking to my friends and telling them, like, dude, like they're so mad at Dallin. They're even mad at me for defending Dallin. And my friends are like, dude, who cares? And my friends all went to Florida State and they paid tuition and all that sort of stuff. They're not boosters, so their opinion matters a little bit less in your minds now after you heard that. It's just it's a bizarre sort of defensive, very combative fan base. It's just, and I don't want to say we're the worst, but like I covered Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and like they never thought that there was like conspiracies against them, and they weren't getting enough respect, and they weren't like when they went on their run in 2014, and they were on the cover of SI, they loved it, man. Good golly, they thought they were the king of the court, the queen of the court, all that sort of stuff. Alabama and Auburn, Alabama fans obviously dominate everything when it comes to college football right now. I don't even feel like Auburn fans thought that ESPN propped up Alabama too much to where it wasn't warranted. But it's like I just can't get behind the whole, like, they hate us. It's just Florida. We're in a weird spot, I think, Florida State, because we're not blue bloods to a certain degree, to a certain part of the population because of just how young the university is. So there's always – I always feel like there's sort of like a UCF element to it. Like we poke fun at UCF, first off, because they make it easy, but second off, because it's like, who are you? Where did you come from? And then it's like Florida State, where? Tallahassee, where did they come from? And it's like, well, Bobby Bowden did this thing and made it into this big juggernaut. Like it's hard to wrap your arms around like some sort of Cinderella story when it comes to Florida State athletics because you think of a big athletic first university. And I know they haven't wrapped their arms around the basketball team maybe as much as they should, but I don't think that's because there's any sort of bias. It's just like they're not giving Virginia Tech a lot of love because it's like it's Virginia Tech. You know, yeah, they got a basketball team that's well, but they're a football school or what have you. I've never felt sort of misplaced anger or displaced stuff from ESPN. Now, the Jameis stuff, half of it was ridiculous. I'll admit. Thing, and that is in some sort of way here now has I don't know, I'm outcast. I'm ostracized almost from my alma mater and my clientele almost. It's kind of weird right now, Corey. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there with what you just said. Sometimes there's paranoia, but then there's also, I can't remember what the shirt is. Like there was a saying about you can't be paranoid if they really are after you.
Yeah. And
I don't look, it's certainly overblown. I think even Florida State fans who talk about an ESPN bias know that there are plenty of instances where that's not the case. But, there is some stuff and has been some stuff over the years. But, when you're Florida State, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, they don't really count. Nobody thinks about them ever. Florida State was the program in the country for a decade and a half.
Well, that's the part of the reason, though. I mean, that's like you got to own both sides of it. Like we're relevant,
sure. So they get more attention, positive and negative.
Yes,
that comes with the territory. Sure, but again, Ole Miss and Mississippi State don't really fall into that. When you go back to 2014, that whole season was ridiculous. Not just the Jameis stuff. But Mississippi State being ranked number one while the team was on a 24-game winning streak. Oh, sorry, you're not beating Louisville, who has 10 NFL draft picks on the roster. You're not beating them by enough. Mississippi State just beat A&M. They're going to be number one now. Like all that stuff, it matters, and it just it's fine. I would think most fan bases. I think there is a section of Duke fans that think the ACC refs are out to get them in basketball. I promise you. Yeah. That they never get calls. A guy tweeted at me saying Zion never gets any calls. He's too big, so they don't give him any. It's like he's like Shaq.
Right.
He gets fouled all the time. They don't. Meanwhile, he could pick up a point guard and throw him into the third row, and they wouldn't call anything. He essentially did that with Trent Forrest. But anyway, so it's all about perspective. It's all about that. I don't. A ESPN guy comes on and says that the SEC in basketball is stronger than the ACC. I mean, I get his point. He's
wrong. I think he's wrong. He's my friend. He's wrong. But the thing is, they're like, how can you call him objective? Like, he went to Columbia.
Right, but you can't look. That's people, right? That's people. They're going to see and believe what they want to believe. Obviously, your buddy. What would he have against Florida State?
Well, this is my thing. Like, subjective, objective would be me saying that Florida State's got the most beautiful women in all co-ed population in the entire country. Like, I can't really be objective because I went here. I've lived amongst it. It's all I really know. Like, the guy went to Columbia. He didn't go to Tennessee. He's not, caping for the SEC as some guy who went to Arkansas. That's my whole thing. And like, he doesn't get talking points from a network. And like, that's what bothers me. Like, he's a really nice guy.
Hires a new football coach. I'm not writing about it again.
Right.
Not after the Bryles and Clement stuff. That's done. Well, I'm not going to even subject myself to it anymore. So, look out for your butt. But I don't think he cares. Like he goes on with his life. It's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. It's just there's a certain sect of every fan base. Florida State fans in particular are a little sensitive because it was a crazy run there for years. Dalvin Cook doesn't get invited to the Heisman twice. It's craziness. Yeah. And we can say what we want. ESPN controls the narrative when it comes to college football, period. They are the only thing that matters. Agreed. And for whatever reason, Dalvin Cook in a tough conference is incredible, especially in hindsight, knowing what offensive line he was running behind. The guy doesn't even get – and it's never even like a story. It's never even like Dalvin Cook got snubbed. It was nuts. It's crazy. Looking back on it now, it is insanity that guy wasn't – I would love to look up who did go to the Heisman those years and got invited to New York. And that dude was finishing like 9th. Give me a break.
Those were the years that it was Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. I mean, you got to hit 2,000 yards as a running back, or you got to be on a team that's competing for a national title. But he was amazing. I love Dalvin. Dalvin might be the greatest ever.
But anyway, so there are perceived slights and there are real slights, and they've been happening for a long time. But when you're written about and talked about as much as Florida State is, positively and negatively, but obviously the last couple of years has been negative. When that happens, then people are going to get, the skin's going to get a little thinner. And so they're going to look for any slight, whether it's perceived or otherwise, and say it's a, there might be some people that truly believe that when they hire somebody, and when ESPN hires someone like your friend, they're going to say, now look, you don't like Florida State, right? It's like, oh God, no. Okay, you're hired. Like, there are people that think that's like part of the equation. It's not at all, obviously. But there's just, I've dealt with it. You've dealt with it. They're always perceived. And, I worked in Thomasville. I was from Norcross, Georgia, 250 miles from Thomasville. And I was accused my first year there of being biased towards one of the other high schools. I'm like, man, I don't even know these high schools. It's just, it's fandom. It's how it is. I would caution you to say that Florida State fans are different than other fans because you don't interact in a way with those fans like you do.
No, we are. We're not the worst. So, Ohio State's terrible. Florida fans are terrible.
Georgia fans are terrible.
Yeah, Georgia fans are really bad. They're in
all
that
bad.
upper echelon,
What fan base other than like Nebraska?
Yeah.
Would you be like, man, that's a great fan base. Those guys really get it.
No, that's fair. That's fair and valid for sure. I think what it's curious to me, it's that all my friends, like my brother and his friends, don't buy into the message board Twitter groupthink. But they're all loyal diehard. They hate Miami. They hate Florida. They try to come up to as many games as they can. Yeah, they're not boosters. I'll try to guilt them about that later on. But at no point do we hang out and talk about what's going on with Florida State. And they're like, hey, did you see what ESPN wrote the other day? Or did you see what they reseeded the conference or the rest of the tournament as and where they got Florida State right now? And I'm not. You can get upset about that stuff. Be like, man, I can't believe that. Can you believe they put Texas Tech ahead of us when they're reseeding it? Be like, yeah. But to get so vitriolic and angry and then
but that's obviously a small percentage of Florida State fans, even that are on Twitter, period. Right. But that are on message boards or that want to interact and post on those. That I do think your buddies are the vast majority of Florida State fans.
Yeah,
but we hear from the vocal minority.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyhow, that's just kind of what I want to say. And
think about what national media members. Think about what national media members must think of Florida State fans. They must think they're the worst collection of humanity that's ever been created because of FSU Twitter, quote unquote, right, and the things that were tweeted at them during the Jameis saga. But by and large, Florida State fans are just like everybody else. There's some good ones and some bad ones, mostly good.
Yeah, I agree. Just people coming at me in droves. What do you think is the age limit to where you can brag about being part of FSU Twitter?
Oh, boy. 32?
Okay.
I think because FSU Twitter became a thing 5, 6, 7 years ago, really, probably.
Right.
So, but you're 25, you're just out of college.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that works. I think if you're 44 and you're still part of FSU Twitter, and maybe that's
just redirect.
But I don't know.
Time.
Am I considered FSU Twitter?
I don't think so. No, because you don't.
All right.
You're not part of the Dothraki horde that just goes and slays people.
Right. I got some of it though after my Bryles column.
Yeah, well, you got some of it after your Hamilton column the other day, praising Hamilton. So I'm like, chill out, man. He's only won one trophy. Pump your brakes.
Well, that wasn't the best. That wasn't the best tweet, but or the best message board post. But yeah, I mean that's the very very much in the minority now. And for people that don't know, I wrote a column. Basically, I went and looked up the things that were tweeted at me about Leonard Hamilton. I learned it from you, Aslan, when you looked up what I had tweeted about the
Horny Brook.
Yeah. That he needs to quit with the jokes and start throwing right-handed. So I went and searched my name and then Hamilton and just looked at all the replies after the loss to Xavier in the second round 3 years ago, and then after he got his contract extension in 16 in the midst of a 5-game losing streak. And wrote a story about all the tweets I got then, and people saying it's time to fire Hamilton. This is the ceiling. It's never going to get any better. The school obviously doesn't care about basketball, yada, yada, yada. And I made a point right away. It wasn't to chastise Florida State fans for not believing in Leonard Hamilton, because I didn't believe in Leonard Hamilton. Yeah. That's to say I didn't believe, I was skeptical. I didn't think he was going to be able to turn it around after it went off the rails a little bit. It never really completely went off the rails. They weren't awful, but they missed the tournament 4 years in a row. So I basically wrote man, we don't know. None of us know. Yeah. All those people were 100%. 2 years ago when they lost to Xavier by 25 points in Orlando, people were 100% sure that was as good as Leonard Hamilton could ever do. He just had the best team he was ever going to have, and they got trounced by a 11 seed without its starting point guard in Orlando. And people were like, that's it. We've got to go in a different direction because it's never going to be better than this. That's kind of what I wrote even. I didn't write that Florida State needed to fire him, but I wrote that in hindsight it's really bad, but I'll admit it. I'll man up and own it. I wrote that it seems like they just bumped their head on the ceiling, and this is all they had to show for this great collection of talent was a first-round win over Florida Gulf Coast, and that's really disappointing because this was supposed to be the year, because it's certainly not going to be next year when they lose all these guys to the NBA, and then sure enough, because I know everything, they went to the Elite Eight the following year, and now we're back in the Sweet 16 and had the program in better shape than they ever have. So that was kind of the point of the column, was kind of making fun of myself and all these Twitterers from 2 and 3 years ago, but then also pointing out, man, we don't know. We have all these opinions that are fully formed that we think are the 100% correct. And 2 years later, we're proven wrong. We did it in 2011 and 12 with Jimbo. We did it obviously with Leonard, and we might be doing it with Willie Taggart, like we talked about. Yeah. There's people that have completely formed their opinions that think there's no way that dude's going to win. And in 2 years ago, if I find some old tweets, and heaven knows I got some for old Willie Taggart, if he comes around and turns this thing into a championship program again, it'll be a treasure trove of tweets about how awful he is, and this is never going to happen, and I will unleash them. So it is what it is, though. It's just it was a fun column to write, though. But yeah, people took offense to that. Like, why are you writing an "I told you so" column? It's like, well, I didn't write an "I told you so" column because I didn't tell you so. I was right there with you. I was skeptical, but anyway, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Oh, last thing too. Kirk Herbstreit used to be pretty complimentary of us too. Like, Kirk liked us. Kirk liked Jimbo. Kirk spoke highly of Jameis's ability. So we had that too. But, we just think of when Mark Schlabach writes stories about guys getting DUIs, which he did for Georgia. Georgia had 2 guys that just got arrested for getting in a fight at a bar. And I think maybe a third player also got arrested for driving on a suspended license. And they added that at the end of the story. Like, this is part of a tumultuous offseason in Athens as another player. Like, that's what happens when you're on top. Like, people come at you. Like, it's not like,
I will say this, though. I don't remember Michelle Beadle tweeting out that she hopes Georgia, if Georgia was up against scurvy, she would root for scurvy.
Yeah. No, I'm not defending Michelle Beadle. Listen, there's There's
You know what I mean?
There's
Like
warranted
that
and
paints some of the
unwarranted.
narrative too.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Anyhow, with that said, I can't believe this, dude. Like literally, they're playing a game tonight. They're going to play.
I know.
I'm not even talking in future tense because it's past midnight as we record the show. My friend was in town, so went and had a couple cocktails while I'm feeling a little bit loose and a little bit combative with you folks.
It wasn't Cup, was it?
What's that?
It wasn't Cup. It wasn't Dallin Cup wasn't in town, was he?
Cuff. By its cuff.
Cuff?
Cuff.
I thought it was Cup.
Like cufflinks. Cufflinks.
Oh, man. Cup is a cooler last name than Cuff.
Whatever.
I don't know. Cuff is kind of cool.
Yeah. You know how when people get married nowadays, they have like hashtags like Forever Clark or Forever Happily Ever Clark or something. I think theirs was like, Cuffed in Love or something like that, or like Cuff Me.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It was romantic.
Sure.
But no, he's finally at home in Fort Lauderdale with his family. He's been in Bristol every week for the last 4 months. So he's getting to be a dad. He's got a 5-month-old daughter. She's gorgeous. I love him and his family.
Hey, well, tell him that I appreciate him coming on. I like his insights.
Yeah, no, I like him too. Well, I'm going to keep him on the show. If you haven't learned by now that you guys just don't embolden me to do things that make you more mad, then you've missed out on the entire marketing of the show. But that said,
folks, you need to tell Aslan how much you like.
Yes. Like, man,
our
I
man
love
Cuff
it.
being on the show.
I love it when you criticize the way I root for my favorite team. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm done with that then.
Sure.
Anyhow, with that said, let's pause on getting to the Renegade Express, and let's talk about this game. It's happening tonight, 7:09, 7:06 Eastern time.
I believe it's 7:09. I believe it's 9. Look, folks, I would go ahead and warn you. Just go ahead and tune in at 7:06 in case it is 7:06.
Yeah.
And then if you're the worst thing that happens is you're 3 minutes early.
And we're on CBS. We're not on TNT.
The big
we're
one.
on CBS. We're the primetime showcase game on Thursday against Gonzaga. I'm not going to beat around the bush with this too much, Corey, because I did it for 50 minutes with Ira earlier. Your thoughts right now. Ira and I both think the Florida State's going to beat Gonzaga. We both think that it's a 2-for-1 sort of proposition here, where if they beat Gonzaga, they're going to Minneapolis. Do you agree, disagree? What are your concerns? What are your confidences going into this one?
Yeah, I don't really agree with any of that. Not that they wouldn't beat Gonzaga, but even if they did, man, Michigan and Texas Tech are really good, and they really play defense. Like, they're the two best defensive teams in the country. So it's not like this is definitely the championship game of the region, because those two teams can beat anyone with it as well as they guard. And we know, Lord knows, we know about Michigan and their defense from last year. But also, man, the more I think about it, I know Phil Kofer hasn't been the player he was last year, but that is an enormous loss against this team. Like, what are they going to do front court wise? I know Cabangeli's awesome, but Gonzaga's got 3 front court guys that can really play. The Tilley kid led them in scoring last year. I think he only averages like 7 points a game this year. But then those other 2 guys,
he's been hurt, and he didn't look really all that good against Baylor either. So I think the Tilley thing's a little.
Yeah, no, he's kind of a stretch 5 now. Like, he kind of just sits outside and shoots threes. He's not, but he's somebody you still have to contend with. Right. And who are you going to do that with? Like, Kumaji and Cabangeli never play on the floor together at the same time. And Raekwon he's shown some flashes. I just don't know. It's one thing to flash against, Vermont and Murray State. He's going up against 2 NBA guys now, who are really good and really experienced. And just having, I think Raekwon's going to be a fantastic player. He might even be an NBA player one day, but right now he's not, and he's not nearly what Phil Kofer is defensively. And I know Phil Kofer isn't like a great rebounder, a shot blocker, but he is where he's supposed to be almost all the time. And when they switch, he's where he's supposed to be. He challenges shots. He's a pretty big dude in the middle. He's a guy that has been playing this system for 5 years. And that can't be understated, how big a loss that is on the defensive end to lose one of your front court guys against a team that has a good front court. So now your front court is a freshman, Raekwon Gray, Kumaji, who you can't play more than 15 minutes probably, and then your best player, Cabangeli. If Cabangeli can stay out of foul trouble, certainly you got a chance, because I think he's as good as either one of those dudes that they got. But what if he can't? Those guys are good, and they're going to go at him, and he's an aggressive kid, and he's going to be playing 2 NBA guys or potential NBA guys. against and go up against. I'm never going to be able to out-talent them 1 through 6. I'm just not. You know, the history and tradition, the facilities, everything they got going again, they're always going to have incredibly talented players 1 through 6. But maybe I get them 7 through 10. And that's the great equalizer. Well, that's what Florida State has always had this whole season. Well, now you're down Kofor, and you might be down Nichols. According to Ira's update, it didn't sound like Leonard. What did Leonard say? He was doubtful?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you're down your backup point guard. You have a rotation of 10. Well, now that's really been cut to 8.
Yeah.
So instead of having David Nichols in the game, you have Anthony Polite in the game. Instead of having Kofor in the game, you have extended minutes of Raekwon Gray, who hasn't done that this year, or I guess Wilkes. I don't know. I don't know what they do. But it's just it's really a bummer. And I'm certainly not waving the white flag. Florida State can beat Gonzaga. Florida State, even these 8 or 9 guys, is really good. Terrence Mann is a terrific college basketball player. So is even not 100% Forrest, and Kabengele might be the most talented player on the floor tonight. But those are 2 huge losses with Kofor and Nichols on both ends of the floor. So it would be an all-time great win if they could do this without those 2 guys. And again, they're not their leading scorers. I think Kofor averages 7.5. Nichols averages like 7. Those aren't 2 huge losses when you look at it, but it's what they do on both ends of the floor, and it cuts into Florida State's depth, which is by far their biggest advantage. So that's my issue going into this game is losing those 2 guys. You lose your biggest advantage, which is depth. Anyway, that was a really long answer. So I hope they win. I'm going to be rooting for them to win, obviously, but it would surprise me if they won just because of the depth scenario and not having 2 seniors who, are really, really important. You know what I mean? Like, I think we kind of lost sight of how important those 2 guys are because of what they did to Murray State.
Yeah.
But, man, Murray State ain't Gonzaga. I know they got a great player, but Gonzaga's got them all over the floor. And you need 8 or 9 guys that can really run at them, and you can wear out their point guard. But they're not going to be able to do that now. But I will say this, no matter what happens, Vassell and Gray getting extended minutes in this thing is going to be great for the future. I think both those guys should play 18 to 20 minutes at least. And I like both those guys a lot. And I think it'll be great for them no matter what. And you never know, man. Maybe Vassell hits 5 threes.
You can't go on a 6-minute, well-reasoned argument that they're not going to win and be like, well, maybe their third guy off the bench is going to hit 5 threes.
Could happen, man. That's the beauty of basketball. I keep saying that. Savoy is due for a game where he can't miss.
He
Heaven
kind of
knows
had
he's
that
missed a lot this year.
He kind of shot his bullets, I feel like, against Murray State, Savoy. I know he hit like 2 or 3.
He certainly emptied the gun and then missed his last 6 shots. Yeah. But those 3 ones he hit in a row were huge. That's when the game kind of got out of hand.
Yeah,
was him hitting 3 in like a minute and a half to it was like a 3-point lead into a 12-point lead, and Murray State I don't think ever got under double digits after that. So those were big. If he comes in and gives you that's the beauty is, MJ Walker and PJ Savoy have not shot the ball great this year, but they've had games where they both hit 5 or 6 threes. Well, maybe they do it in the same game. Now all of a sudden you got 11 threes from those 2 guys, and then you're dancing in the Elite 8, baby. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't. Kabengele is going to be the best player most talented player on the floor. Maybe he'll have an all-time great game.
Man, I'm reassessing all my feelings right now. This is really weird. I don't know. I just feel like if they play, and this is going to be almost impossible to replicate and duplicate, like that intensity against Murray State. And again, I know it's different when you just have to really. You're like, all right, we're going to let John Morant go off, and then whoever else, we're going to just absolutely overwhelm them and shut them down and just dismantle them that way. You can't do that against a team like Gonzaga that's got 4 guys that average over 15 points. But you do have 4 guys that average over 15 points, but play like over 35 minutes in a game, and maybe
right.
They never played 35 minutes against Terrence Mann or 35 minutes against Trent Forrest or MJ Walker. Ira had the good point about the fact that this is where you really see the conference slate come into play, where there's a reason why Gonzaga goes 17-1, 18-0, or whatever every year in conference, but then when they get to the tournament, they rarely make it out of the Sweet 16. It's that there's that sort of unwritten gentlemanly agreement where, all right, we'll let you get it over the half line, then we're going to start playing defense. But for 40 minutes, they're going to have to earn every inch, every foot that they move on that floor against Florida State. And I don't think they're used to that. The thing that sucks, and like you said, is that they're not going to have 10, 11 guys to roll off the entire night the way they usually would like to. It's going to probably be about 8 guys. And at what point do you have diminishing returns because you're not going to get what you expect from those 8 guys that you would get from having also Phil and David into the mix. If they can just if they can make it to halftime, right? If they can make it to halftime, and it's a 6-8 point spread, like if it's double digits at halftime, my confidence will be really waned, and I'll feel very up against it. Not to say they can't rally, but as long as Florida State keeps it 6, 7, 8 points going to half, I still feel they'll prevail after all.
Here's and again, I'm not. I mean, I guess I am Debbie Downer. That's kind of my role, but
I usually do it. Try it; it's fun.
But what I would say is one of their best wins of the season was that comeback win against Virginia Tech.
Yes,
where they were down 14 at the half, and they came back and won that game. I'm pretty sure they played 6 players that whole second half. 2 of them won't be playing tonight. You know what I mean? That's really the only thing that would concern me. Phil Kofer is averaged like 26 minutes a game. Nichols averaged 16 or 17 minutes a game. Who's going to take over those extra 43 minutes? Raekwon Gray has moments. He's a good shooter. He's good at a lot of things. He's not as good as Phil Kofer right now. And Anthony Polite isn't David Nichols. So that's just when you're right. When you come in waves like Florida State you can wear a team down. And ideally you're playing a team that guys play 35, 36, 37 minutes, 4 guys. In the last 10 minutes of a game, Florida State usually distances itself because they're so much fresher. I just don't know if that'll be the case. That's all. That's fair. But again, they're certainly good enough, even without Kofer and Nichols, to beat this team. But they're going to have to play well, and they can't just rely on their depth. And it'll be interesting to see. I think Polite's going to play. He played him again. He even played him. He played him in both games.
Yes.
This past weekend. So I think Polite, they're going to try to use him mainly to where he's going to be the guy that's going to be when Trent's getting a rest to try to drag the guy up and down the court when he's bringing the ball up, the point guard. So, again, it's all good experience. And, Polite did hit his last 2 threes in that game. He scored 9 points. He should be feeling pretty good about himself. Maybe he'll knock down some shots. It's just he's not as good as David Nichols, and Raekwon Gray isn't as good as Phil Kofer. Certainly Raekwon Gray having to play 25 minutes when he's averaged like maybe 9 all year or 10 all year. That to me is an issue, and I just want, it would be a great win if they can, without 2 of their big rotation guys, beat the number 1 team in the country.
All right, let's get to it, man. Time for the Renegade Express. The ponies are on their way. Let's try to shuffle through this as fast as we can. We're already we're almost at the 40-minute mark, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And I got to go to Pro Day.
40 minutes.
We didn't even talk about Wednesday observations. Pro Day's later today on Thursday. I don't even really know what to expect. I mean, a bunch of guys trying to get some looks. I mean, how many guys are going to get drafted? I mean, at least Burns. Maybe DeMarcus Christmas. Maybe Nooney. Yep. Anyhow, what do you think about Practice Wednesday? The first time we were able to go out there and over a week. Did you see anything? What did you observe, Corey?
I don't. Nothing really.
Tempo.
I thought Marvin Wilson looked good.
Yes.
I was impressed with Dante Lucas the one time I saw him in the Knoll drills.
Yes.
He's good. He is a big, quick, fast, strong dude.
On a bad ankle too.
The more I watch him, the more I'm like, okay, he's going to be playing this year a lot.
Yeah. I
don't know if he's going to start right away, but he's going to be playing this year a lot, and he's going to be a really big part of this team moving forward. So, that's about it. I don't know, 6 periods where it's all position drill stuff. There's not a ton you can take away from it. Derek Notting is huge.
I did count that I think the second unit offensive line, they were doing individual segment work, and Randy Clements barked at them, get back, tempo, go, go. They did 4 reps in under 40 seconds.
Okay.
So
I like hearing that.
So the tempo thing is real. And there was even spurts where they were doing quarterbacks just throwing it to the receivers on air, where there were spurts where I got overwhelmed filming. Like I didn't know where to go because it was just one guy after another just throwing lasers down the field and not really, just really only James Blackman. Yeah, they need some help at the quarterback spot just to get some really quality reps to these second and third team guys so James Blackman's arm doesn't go dead just from practicing all the time. But the tempo thing is real. Take it for what it's worth. If you want to be really optimistic, think of it as this is a true thing here. Like Greg Fry never pushed those guys to go quick and do repetitions in rapid succession after one another because I think he was so drowned in the lack of talent and the problems they had that it was just like, let's focus on getting this right. Like, everyone listen to me, pay attention. This is how we're going to do it. Please get better. And Randy Clements is at a point now where he's kind of like, all right, come on, next, let's go. Come on, keep going. Line back up, go. All right, get back here. Line up, go. So, maybe he's at a point where he thinks that they're picking up on certain things and now he can push them at a faster pace. I don't know. There's something maybe you can believe in. Anywho, first question. Let's skip along. Get Down Black. What's up, guys? My question, being that Beasley and Bacon were 5 stars and Mann was a 4-star in the same class and both were first-round picks, do you think Terrence Mann, gets drafted in the first round? Do you think Mann will have the better NBA career of the 3 or even Isaac, who was also a first-rounder?
Well, Bacon was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
And no, Beasley and Isaac both are turning in. Beasley's like a real big time player for the Nuggets. Like he started a few games, more than a few games this year. He is an important role player. He's going to be playing in the playoffs for the number 2 seed, and I think he's got a chance to land a pretty nice contract. He's become one of the top shooters in the league, and we all know he's a crazy athlete. And Bacon, my man Bacon, his last 2 games he set career highs. They're starting him now. Like, I guess trying to do a youth movement to see what they got, even though they're in the middle of a playoff race. And he scored 24 points the other night, career high, after scoring 20 the night before.
Where is he?
Charlotte.
Good for him.
And, yeah, he's playing with Kimba. He hit, like, a huge shot in overtime for them. In one of their games, he hit 5 threes in a quarter. So
that's good.
He's looking all right. And then Isaac, I think Isaac, it's a weird team he's on, but I watch them sometimes. That dude has everything. He doesn't get the ball a lot. They got a couple guys on the team that shoot every time the ball touches their hand. But I think Isaac only being 21, they're really starting to like what he is too. So, no. Number one, I don't think Terrence Mann will be a first-round pick.
Correct.
Although I was told, that an FSU coach might disagree with me. I don't know that he's shooting the ball really well this year from 3, but he's not a natural great shooter. And at his size, he's going to have to become one. But Akara White became a pretty good shooter. I will say this. No, and I only because I think Isaac and Beasley for sure are going to be in the league for a decade at least. Yeah. That I don't think Terrence Mann will have the NBA career of them, but I've said it, I've written it. Terrence Mann has had a more impactful college career than all of those guys. Yep. And it's not close. Yeah. Terrence Mann is a very, very good college basketball player, and Florida State's going to miss him a lot when he's gone.
He's like Tim Riggins without the drinking problem. Maxwell Gibbs, wake up! Gents, I was watching the highlights from the FSU victory over Gonzaga last year in the Sweet 16, and one thing that stood out was Ike Obiagu was huge in that victory. Fast forward a year later, and we don't have Obiagu. Who can step up and give that unexpected lift off the bench, not named Fiondu Kabengele?
Yeah, well, that's the issue. They don't have Obiagu or Kofor, and both those guys were huge defensively in that game. I think Gonzaga shot like 35% in that game. They did not handle Florida State's size at all last year, and Florida State doesn't have quite the same size this year, obviously. Off the bench, I don't know who's going to be their forward coming off the bench. The only thing I can think, man, Vassell is such a crazy athlete. He can't guard those guys; they're too big. But he can really help out rebounding. And like Dallin said, Gonzaga's not a great offensive, or they're not a great defensive rebounding team.
Yeah. So
Florida State's going to have to do well in the offensive glass. Kabengele and Mann can do that. Maybe Vassell's the other guy. I can't get over how good that guy is, and the thought of how good he could be. There's just something about that dude that screams like he's going to be an 18-point scorer in this league before it's all said and done, or a 20-point scorer. He just has it all. and he's a competitor, and he's confident, and he's great. He can be great defensively. Did you know he was third on the team in blocked shots?
I did not know that.
He's tied with Terrence Mann in 800 less minutes.
Jeez.
I mean, the guy is a freak athlete. He's just bouncy like a pogo stick. But anyway, I don't know. Cabangeli, obviously. You got to hope that Raekwon Gray can, number one, stay out of foul trouble and can play well. He's a big dude, and he's certainly talented, and he hasn't shown that he's going to back down from any moments so far in his freshman year. But this will obviously be the biggest stage he's on. He's going to have to play well on both ends of the court for them to have a chance, because Gonzaga does, their two best players are the two post guys.
I wasn't able to confirm this, but I saw a post on warchant.com. Use the promo code warchant30 for 30 free days of access to the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. That I think that Brandon Clark guy on Gonzaga has blocked more shots this year than he's missed, or something absurd to that degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he averages. Yeah, that could be. I mean, he averages like 3.5 blocks per game.
Yeah.
And all his, most of his points are dunks. I mean, the guy's an incredible athlete. That's a guy they did not have last year. So again, but they don't go up against teams like Florida State much either. They don't face, in whatever conference that is, the West Coast Conference or whatever it is.
That's what it is.
They don't face a lot of Cabangellis and Terrence Manns and 7-4 guys. So, Florida State. I'm not, nobody's gonna be feeling sorry for Florida State losing a forward when they still have the guys they have. It's a bummer that they don't have their full complement at the most important stage of the season with a real chance. This is a really good team, and it's a fun team. They have a real chance to get to the Final Four, and it's just a bummer they don't have their full complement of players, but that doesn't mean they can't get there.
Maxwell Gibbs, a guy who lives in New York City and is going to marry a Brazilian woman.
I thought he just wrote us. Was that not last one, not Maxwell Gibbs?
But he's got this to add. In the summer when I made the prediction that the Lakers wouldn't make the playoffs, you both laughed at me and said I was crazy to say that. I think it was just me. Well, who's the crazy one now, boys? Me. Waiting on an apology from both of you. Don't underestimate my basketball analogy. I don't know what that means.
I think he might have been analysis maybe, and he just typed out the wrong word.
Probably.
Listen, I definitely made fun of them.
They were the 4 seed, and they had destroyed the Warriors, I think, in Oakland on Christmas, and then LeBron hurt his groin and missed the most games in a row in his entire career, and then they tried to trade everybody to get Anthony Davis, and the Pelicans played him, so the whole thing burned down. And you're right. I'm wrong, but let's not act like there hasn't been. I mean, that's like an act of nature almost that overcame the Lakers to not make the playoffs. Like, this wasn't just like, they didn't have the right mix of players. There was bad chemistry. Coaching sucked. Man, they had the best player in the league. He missed 15 games. They tried to, at one point or another, trade the other 9 guys on the roster. None of them moved. Bad things happened. But you're right. I'm wrong. Congratulations, Maxwell.
Yeah, he did it. And, Lonzo Ball got hurt and Brandon Ingram got hurt. Yeah, the whole team kind of fell apart. But, yeah, I definitely made fun of him when he said that back whenever that was. Because I'd said, like, he'd been in the conference finals like 8 years, or the NBA finals 8 years in a row, and then all of a sudden he's going to miss the playoffs completely. But, hey, that's what happened. Did you see, by the way, on Twitter the one shining moment for the Lakers season?
No.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like highlights from the Lakers season set to the one shining moment music.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's LeBron throwing the ball off the backboard and Lonzo airballing a 14-footer. Just, it's really, really funny.
All right. By the way, I also asked everybody, how should we settle who gets to go to the Final Four? I also asked them, are they embracing basketball? Do they miss football? And what is a real Florida State fan? Is it those who are on War Chant, Twitter? Neither, both. Must you financially invest? Maxwell Gibbs said to that. The best Florida State fans are the ones who attended Florida State or contribute financially. Next question. Oh, here we go. This comes from friend of the program, Ranye in Georgia. Gwinnett County, stand up. Wake up. What are your thoughts about the talent FSU football has brought in at the last 2 junior days? Not many 5-star talent at all. Now, Corey, hold on. I don't know a lot about recruiting. You do, but take a breather. I'm going to phone a friend, okay. Michael Langston. Let's go to him. He's the man with the answers when it comes to recruiting. Thanks for doing this for us, Michael. This is Ranye. He asks you, Michael, wake up. What are your thoughts about the talent FSU football has brought in at the last 2 junior days? Not many 5-star talent, it seems.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we mentioned this several times, is you can't focus on just what they bring in the junior days. I know that for everyone, that's like the end-all, end-all, and if you don't bring guys in on that exact junior day, then, there's a problem. But then, the following week, they brought in 2 or 3, Rouse 100 guys, like Isaiah Walker was there. There was several. I mean, I can't remember every single guy, but there was a lot of top brass. You had a 5-star linebacker, Reggie Grimes, came in. So I wouldn't focus so much on just these junior days dictating what guys that you can get in the program. I mean, just recently, 4-star wide receiver E.J. Williams visited FSU. They're constantly getting these guys stopping by. What I think you'll see is you'll see a lot more activity with a lot of guys wanting to see practices, and we've already seen a uptake as far as upstick of talent that have come in, the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I wouldn't lock yourself into, they didn't get anybody at junior day, or a lot of time, that means they're not getting talent there. A lot of times the junior days are mainly, sometimes it's there to get elite talent and, that hasn't seen FSU. But a lot of times these are guys that they evaluated and they just want to see in person, see if they measure out to what they thought they were going to be. Are they as tall as they were, or also see, if these are guys that they want to pursue. So you can't always put in junior days as, everyone puts in, it's elite talent, and that's it. It's like, no, majority of the time you're going to see most of their elite talent, as we saw last year, Seminole showcased, spring game, which we have a list already up of incredible list of guys that are going to come over for the spring game. So you're going to have those are the big events that you look for with high level elite talent. Junior days, not so much. It's kind of and people don't understand how that works, that sometimes it's not just about what elite talent's coming in.
Boom. There you folks have it. Check out all of Michael's work over at the Premium Recruiting Board. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 if you're not already a member. Michael, the knowledge is appreciated. Thank you, friend.
You got it.
There's your answer. Another question from Ranye.
I was about to say all that, by the way. I was going to say all of that, but Michael beat me to it. I guess you let Michael do it.
Yeah. Let's see how well Corey can stay on track and keep us in a good, tight show time running. Do you think Jim Leavitt takes an off-field position with Florida State this season? If so, what would the impact be of him having that role?
Who asked that?
Ranye, same guy.
Oh, Ranye again.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I don't have a clue.
I don't think so.
It was certainly odd that he was in Tallahassee, and there is no open defensive coordinator position. So, heck, man, how many former head coaches are on the Alabama staff, like as a quality control person or analyst? 8, 40? I feel like Florida State can have one.
Yeah.
That would help. Just pay him. I don't know it's just weird what happened in Oregon. Just odd.
Yeah.
Did he just not get along with Cristobal?
I guess. I don't think he comes here just because the way that Willie answered the question when he was asked was extremely dismissive of it. And, I mean, if you look at Jim Leavitt's Twitter feed, he literally had been spending the last 10 days, even before that, hopping around to other universities just wanting to be around the game. So I think it's just one of those things where he has family in Florida, maybe his mother, and your old boss is at the preeminent football program in the state, or once was the preeminent football program in the state.
Still is.
So come visit it. Yeah, I don't think he joins us. D Wolf 1, hey guys, again, big fan of the show, and Corey, love the recent articles on Mann and Coach Ham. To my question, are you of the belief that if, and that's a big if, well, we kind of already answered this, if we can get past a very good Gonzaga team, that this Florida State squad will just find the sheer will to win a tight game against Michigan or Texas Tech after the heartbreak of last year's close Final Four call? I just think this team will gut out a close win against Michigan in a rematch. Win or lose, been a great 2 years for FSU hoops. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not of that belief because it's basketball and like anything can happen, and you know, Michigan has a lot of guys that gut out wins too. So would Texas Tech for that matter. So no, but certainly you want that opportunity, right? To be playing for a spot in the Final Four again. So I would hope, I would certainly be crossing my fingers that they could do that so we could all make the trek to Minneapolis and people could tell us how Color Me Bad was.
Yeah. D-Wolf 1, I think or at least I said my piece at the beginning of the show, and I'm not being dismissive of your question. I appreciate you asking the question. I appreciate you complimenting us on being a fan of the show, but it's 1 a.m, and I'm kind of tired. Rolly for FSU, wake up! Aslan, I believe the deciding factor on who gets to go to Minneapolis with Ira to cover the Final Four should come down to a good old-fashioned game of horse on the courts, or maybe a beer pong tournament between you, Corey, and Ira, but definitely one of the two. I have been all about this basketball team from the opening smackdown of the Gators, even though that 1-5 conference start, I think it was actually 1-4, though, wasn't it, Corey?
It was, yeah.
I thought we had something special given we stole defeat from the jaws of victory against Duke, just a rebound away from an epic win at home. This has been the most fun I've ever had watching Florida State men's basketball, which brings up my next question. If we get past Gonzaga and make it to the Elite Eight once again, would you consider this the greatest FSU basketball team outside of the 72 team? The comparison has been made to 92-93, and that makes for a tough answer, but I would say this year, this squad takes the prize if that were to happen. Tough to deny a team with the likes of Edwards, Cassell, Sura, Dobars, and Ward, but this team and coaching staff have an incredible camaraderie all the way down to the walk-ons. They truly are 18 strong and have been an absolute pleasure to watch. Love how they have embraced Phil Kofer during this tragic time for him and his family, and hope they can get to Minneapolis to perhaps give him another chance to suit up.
That was
Damn,
long.
Raleigh. That was good.
Well written, though.
Yeah.
It was very well written. And I agree with all that, man. Like, it's been – I don't know if we're going to compare them to the Elite Eight team of Ward and Sura and those guys. This team's certainly better defensively, and they play a lot more dudes. That team played 6. But, yeah, man, it's just been a joy to cover and a joy to watch, starting with that Florida game.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, they're really one bad week from being like 33-4. I mean, you know what I mean? They had one bad week. They're 29-7, and 3 of those 7 losses came in a 8-day span, all in a row. And then, you know, and one of them was a heartbreaker by a point to the best team in the country. So, man, it's just been a really fun team to watch. It hadn't all been easy. They have had to deal with injuries and adversity. And that, you know, that's why I'm hoping they get there, man. This team has been special no matter what happens. It's, you know, you could make an argument, man, that there's never been a regular season better than that, obviously. They won 13 ACC games. They won 8 in a row. They won 5 games on the road. 4 of them were like blowout wins on the road, which just don't happen. And then they did what they did in the ACC tournament and then rolled to one of their biggest NCAA tournament wins ever. Just it's been a really memorable, fun season. I hope it doesn't end tonight. I really don't. But if it does, man, I think people 10, 15 years from now will look back on this season with just unbridled joy about what the real basketball fans, about what they got to watch. Because it's really been a pleasure and it's really been fun. And it starts with the seniors and also veterans like Trent Forrest. But really fun.
Enol_2000. Yo, guys, I know national championship in baseball and basketball for the Noles would be very welcomed indeed if either were to happen at some point, or both for that matter. However, curious as to which would be more meaningful if only one of the following scenarios occurred. 1, Corey, baseball team wins a national title, but it happens under the next coaching staff.
Okay.
Or this basketball team wins it all, and it comes under this coaching staff. You can only choose one. Which do you think would be more meaningful?
The second one. Basketball is more important than baseball. It makes more money. It gets more attention. And this staff has been here now for, 17 years? 18? I think this is their 17th year, Leonard and Stan anyway.
Yeah, 2002.
What a wonder. I mean, yeah, no, that would be a remarkable accomplishment. And I do think one of these days, obviously, Florida State is going to win a national championship in baseball. I don't know that it'll ever happen in basketball. It's really hard to do it. I think there's been, I don't know, since I've been alive, maybe 10 or 12 teams have won a national championship in basketball. But yeah, so that would be, to me, the most meaningful. That would just be awesome. Just think about that, like what the next 2 weeks would be like if they ended up winning a national title. Like all the incredible moments that would have to come in the huge shots, in the big plays, in the drama and everything. It would be, you would never forget it. I mean, you just wouldn't. There'd be no way you'd ever forget a 6-game run to a national championship when you had to beat the number 2 pick in the draft. You had to beat the number 1 seed. You'd have to maybe get a rematch with the team that beat you last year. Then, you'd have to beat Zion. And then you'd probably have to beat North Carolina or somebody of that ilk. That would be something you'd never forget.
I will
agree
say,
to disagree.
No, I agree with you.
Now, if it was Mike Martin versus Leonard Hamilton, that would be a different conversation, perhaps.
If this basketball team, I don't know, just because what I said on the Showtime with Ira Schofel on YouTube Live was, I remember just the sheer horror of watching Florida put away LSU in Omaha 2 years ago, and just thinking that they did, how did this happen? This world is unjust. This is a horror show. This is a living nightmare. And then 3 days later, I was like, whatever, screw Florida.
Yeah, 3 days later, I figured it was like the next morning you woke up. It's like, it's college baseball.
Yeah. Captain D _63. Wake up, Aslan and Corey. Is there any chance Fiondu will come back as a redshirt junior, or does he bolt for the NBA? I think there's a good chance he comes back, because he still is, in terms of the mileage on him, man, he's a young pup. He's got a lot to still brush up on and get better. I don't know what he's going to hear back from draft analysts and what his grade is going to be, but man, if he comes back and those hands soften up a little bit and he just becomes an absolute automatic finisher when he gets, into the paint and he's close. I mean, he's a lottery pick. And I know people talk about, well, he might get injured. And I think if he bets on himself, it'd be a bet that would pay off.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors at work, and I certainly don't know the inner workings of his mind or his inner circle. I do know that the coaches seem pretty confident, at least when I asked them, and it's been a couple weeks before the tournament, I should say, that they seem confident that he would be coming back because of who he is. Number one, education is very important. He does want to graduate. Both his parents are college educated. He's the nephew. His mom is sisters with Dikembe Mutombo, who made $150 million in his NBA career, and it still does commercials. So I can't imagine that finances are a factor, really. Now, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't. I mean, everybody wants to go play in the NBA if that's a lifelong dream. It's not just about the money to go to the NBA, but that is he's not somebody that has to go take care of his family. Is the point? His family is well taken care of. They're fine. They both have very good jobs, and they live in beautiful Toronto, and they also have a Hall of Famer as a family member. So what it comes down to is right now, I think on ESPN's mock draft, he's like the 30th ranked prospect. Fiondu Kabengele legitimately thinks he can be the best player in the country. That's how he's wired. That's how he works so hard. That's how he's always been. As I wrote in that story, he thought he was better than Jonathan Isaac when they both got to campus on the same day. And he wasn't close. Now he is now, but he wasn't then. But that's who he is. That's what he believes. He believes that he should be a lottery pick. He should be a top 5 pick. Well, that's not happening this year. But next year, if he comes back and, obviously starts, see if he can work himself into the starting lineup and plays 32 minutes a game and averages 18 and 13 and shoots 40% from 3, or all these things that it looks like he's taking those steps to, he's going to be a big name. He's going to be one of the bigger names in the country. And that matters. And he's on all the scouts' radars. And I think if he keeps improving, he's a guy that could be a top 10 pick. I don't think he's there right now, but he could still be taken in the first round, maybe even the late first round or middle first round. But I think he's a guy that thinks he can be a top 5 pick. And I think he's a guy that knows he still has some work to do and isn't in a huge rush to do it. But we'll see. I mean, what if he goes for 35 and 14 tonight? Goes
DiVincenzo on you, like the guy from Villanova?
And does it against that front court.
Yeah.
Everything's still in play. I would say this, though. He was awesome in the first 2 games, but again, that was Vermont and Murray State, who had nobody that could even come close to him physically and athletically. Well, now he's going up against guys that do. And if we remember how he looked in the Virginia Tech game, man, Blackshear gave it to him pretty good. Now, Blackshear's a really good player, But if I'm a scout and I see how Cabangeli did against a guy with that kind of athleticism and size, and Cabangeli did struggle, Fiondu did struggle a little bit offensively against Virginia Tech in both those games from the floor, that would give me a little pause. You know what I mean? That's, he certainly didn't destroy Blackshear in either one of those games. So, we look at it through the lens of Florida State media or Florida State fans, and wow, this guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. There's a lot of really good players in college basketball. I don't know that he's so high up on the scouts' radars right now that it's a lock that he's leaving, or even a probability that he's leaving. I think right now, it's a probability that he's staying. But we'll see, because I've been wrong before.
Corey, we were at practice at 8 in the morning. You drove to Atlanta, all-star dad, took your son to practice. It's quarter after 1 in the morning, and you're giving me 6-minute answers. Come on, man.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
We got 2 more from Captain D63. You get 15 seconds to answer each, because that's all it should take. Talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. But hearing these interviews with the offensive line and reading the articles, do you believe our offensive line will be head and shoulders better than last year? Head and shoulders is kind of hard to quantitate, Captain D_63. They will be better.
Is quantitate a word?
Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know. I thought quantify is a word. I don't think I've ever heard of quantitate.
Oh, then quantify.
Okay, well, either way, it might be quantitate. It was a legitimate question. Don't get mad at me.
No, you're right. Head and shoulders, they're going to be able to run the ball sometimes. It's just not going to be a futile effort trying to run the ball. James Blackman's going to have time. Maybe not as much time as everybody thinks you deserve and get every single rep in competitive tackle intercollegiate football, but it's going to be better. Head and shoulders to me would be going from what they were last year to, I don't know, like something close to 2014, and I think that's too big of a bridge to sell.
I would say maybe shoulders better. You're not getting the head out of there too. Quantitate is a word.
Okay.
And the definition says to determine the quantity or extent of something in numerical terms, quantify. So basically, it's a synonym for quantify, then why do we have 2 words that mean the same thing?
Corey, shoulders. What makes Mike Jr. a better fit to coach our baseball team instead of going out and bringing in new blood? Great show, guys. Have a great day. Go Noles. What I will say is, I don't think we talk about this enough when people try to take a ding at Mike Jr., and this isn't me dinging Mike Jr., but at some point, the son isn't guilty for the father's sin, but at what point does this team, the fielding, just become so unsavory and disappointing that maybe somebody's got to take the fall for that? But I think we think of meat, we think of hitting an offense, and that continues to produce at a pretty respectable level.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it short. There isn't. I mean, you might be able to go out and get a great head coach and a proven head coach from a big school. I don't think that's a real possibility. I think if you're going to get a proven head coach, it'll be from a mid-tier school. And I don't know why you would choose somebody that coaches at, like, say, Wofford or Samford, as opposed to the guy that's been a part of your program for 20 years. And again, it's not like he's been a part of a program that doesn't win. All they do is win.
Except against Florida.
Yeah. The Gators is a little different deal. But they win 40 games every year. They're top 10 every year. He's always got a good offense. The resume speaks for itself. So, it's not a guarantee that he's going to be the coach, but it's not like you're hiring Jeff Bowden.
It's a better fit. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows where to recruit. He's been at all the showcases.
Also, wouldn't it be cool? Like, don't we think that if Mike Martin Jr. is the head coach for the next 15 or 20 years, by just sheer odds, wouldn't they win a championship?
You would hope so.
I mean, just by the sheer odds, if you get to Omaha maybe 6 more times in the next 15 years, you are going to catch lightning in a bottle and win. You just are, darn it. I know I'm cynical, but I'm a Braves fan. We got it the one time. It can happen. So wouldn't it be cool if a Martin won it instead of Joe Smith, who coached at Central Florida?
Yeah. It'd be cool if we got the show over with before 2 in the morning. Big_G95. Wake up! Okay, guys, I have to admit, when it comes to FSU sports, FSU football is who I ride and die for. The other FSU sports, I'm happy for them when they win, but they are not my, quote, team. In men college basketball, I'm a Kansas Jayhawk fan. Rock chalk, baby. But I will say, listening to you guys talk about FSU men's basketball every morning has made me pay more attention to that team, and I have to admit, I really like them. Watching these guys in the ACC and NCAA tournament, I'm starting to have a bromance with this team. I love the fact that Coach Ham plays 11 to 13 players per game to wear down his opponents, and they all play so unselfishly. Now that my Jayhawks are out of the tourney, I have to admit I am all in with FSU to win the NCAA championship Monday, April 8th. P.S. After proofreading my comment above, it just dawned on me that I use the phrase, I have to admit, a lot. Kind of like my guy Corey Clark uses the phrase, quite frankly, in his comments a lot.
Sure.
Oh, well, quite frankly, I have to admit that Corey Clark and I can give a rat's booty who don't like that we use a phrase too many times, and we will continue to say it a lot more times. Ain't that right, Corey? Deuces, and I'm out. Go Knowles. Dunlaw 402. What's up, guys? I'm coming to you live from Wakulla.
Hey, I didn't even get to respond to that.
You don't have to. That part of the joy of that is just you not responding because you're like, right on, brother. But go ahead and say right on, brother, but take 2 minutes to say it.
What was the guy's name?
Big _ G95.
So Big G, I just wanted to say, so you're a Florida State football fan and a Kansas basketball fan.
I hate you, Corey.
So what is he? He's an LSU college baseball fan probably. He's probably a Yankees fan. What, a Patriots fan?
Yeah.
Tiger
Warriors.
fan, Muhammad Ali fan, Michael Phelps fan.
Easy on the
1972 Russian hockey team fan. Just joking with you, Big G. I appreciate all that. Quite frankly, that was a good post.
Dunla 402, what's up, guys? Coming to you live from Wakulla, Wilkillia County. Can we get an update or confirmation on football uniform changes this upcoming season? If we go back to pre-2014 jerseys or even just get rid of that horrible, quote, tribal sleeve and turn the numbers back to white, I'll be a Taggart fan for life, no matter how bad we get. A rumor started. It's sort of picking up legs. I don't know if I'm comfortable asking Willie about that, but we really asked him nothing inquisitive or incisive on Wednesday, so maybe on Friday, the last question, when no one says anything, I'm like, Willie, any chance new, old retro jerseys? Maybe I'll do it. We'll let you know, Dunla. Last question. We made it, Corey. You ready?
I am ready.
I hope you're not mad at me. I love you, man. Sosa _ ZP. Wake up! I love how the basketball team is playing. Not my favorite sport by far, but when the team is cranking up big wins, you just have no choice but to feel good. But after a week off, I'm glad the football team is getting back to practice and content is out. That one-handed grab by Warren Thompson, wow. But nonetheless, gentlemen, the slow season is approaching. You guys just keep up the motivation a little bit longer. We'll try. Shout out to intern Austin, who also helped film some of practice on Wednesday. That was Corey's finding. Good job, Corey. And it was weird being out at football on Wednesday. I didn't even know what was going on. What are we going to ask them? They just came back from a week hiatus. I asked them some really stupid question about Kyler Murray and Oklahoma now being in vogue for NFL teams. Is the Browse offense the same way? And I didn't say it so eloquently, and Willie kind of looked at me like, why do you keep asking me questions? I don't like you, but I'll answer it anyways because I'm a good guy. So, yeah, it's been weird. But football is back. But before that, we got some games to win on the hard court, right, Corey?
Just 2 more, buddy. Well, I guess technically 4 more, but get you one tonight, feel good, and then go make some history on Saturday. Are we going to have a show tomorrow?
I think we have to. I mean, especially if they win. Especially.
Win or lose, yeah, right?
Yeah. Somebody said that I said especially, like there's an X in it, which I probably do. But whatever. Go throw yourself.
How long have we been going? How long is this show right now?
We're at 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Well, either way, you're welcome, folks. I mean, what else are you going to do with your day? This is what we get, sort of what we get paid for. You don't have to pay anything for it, which, we could, we might start a GoFundMe. But either way, we appreciate giving you all this great content. It's what we do. It's what we live for. And Aslan's right. I had to get up at 7:30 in the morning so we could have 4 people there to interview Willie Taggart because no players were available. because I guess we didn't ask for any, so I guess I can't really blame them. But either way,
four were asked, 2 said no, 1 got there late, and then the other one, something happened.
Right, but either way, so there were 4 of us there for just Willie. But it's been a long day, not going to lie. If I said some weird things, it's because I'm working on little sleep. I did have to drive all the way to Atlanta and didn't get a nap, which I don't like getting up at 7:30 in the morning and not getting a nap, but here we are. So, I love you guys, and, whatever. Go Noles. I love you, Aslan, more than anything.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.